Hi everybody, welcome to Kate's Space. I'm Kate from Pixie Designs, and today I am going to talk you through a little video I made when I was creating this folio for a swap. Now, I did put this up on my Instagram, a little sneak peek, and I have videoed some of my process. Unfortunately, sometimes I got a bit involved in creating it. This took me quite a long time. And I forgot to turn my camera on, so we'll just make the best that we can of it. Here I am fiddling around with this envelope which I created out of digital by Danielle from Evelyn and Sage, and I'm trying to work out whether I want this sort of wrapped around this front cover of the folio. So I'm using this what do you call it, huge, big cabinet card that I'm not really fond of the picture on the front, so I decided I was going to use that for the front. Pretty much all the digitals I use in this folio are by Danielle from Evelyn and Sage Avenue, and so yeah, there's a lot of sort of working out how to do things. There were certain things I couldn't do before I did something else. I couldn't hinge things or put a spine in or whatever until I'd decided how I wanted the whole thing to work out. Here is another digital that I made an envelope out of, and I'm having a little fiddle around with that, but decide I don't want to use it. I do decide that I want to use that lock on the front, and so here I am just gluing this sort of digital that I've cut out, and I'm going to put it on some really old book page just to sort of give it a bit of a layering, and it's just a really old sort of tatty look. That's kind of what I wanted to achieve. So I'm just gluing this onto this very old book page, and then making it sort of look all scruffy, and then that will be attached to the photo on the cabinet card. I'm pressing it all down and starting to rough it up, and then I suddenly decide it's not exactly where I want it, so I quickly peel it up. Luckily that glue gives you a little bit of time to play around, and just re-glue it. I think maybe I just wanted a little bit of that white, a bit more of the book page at the top showing. And then I'm just curling it all around and just looking where that key is going to go. I end up attaching that with some brads in the end before I actually attach it to the cabinet card. So then I'm just having a look at how this is going to be. I want a little bit of the cabinet card sort of graphics poking out from down below, which I really like. And then I'm kind of having a think about how is this all going to attach together. And I really don't know. I haven't made something like this before, and so it was very sort of experimental, and there were a few things that didn't go according to plan. I decided that that little bit of wedding dress fabric that I've got wasn't going to be wide enough or maybe strong enough, so I've got a bit of linen here that I'm having a go at tearing. Then I decide, I think I've torn that way too narrow. I'm going to need much more space, because the thing with the folio is when you start putting things in it, it gets fatter and fatter, and if you haven't left enough sort of fabric hinge, then you just can't really put anything in it. So that's why I'm fiddling around with that fabric and thinking, where's that going to insert, and then is it going to wrap around the back, and is it going to leave enough room? The whole time I'm doing this, well, most of the time I'm doing this, I'm actually chatting with my sister as well and sort of talking things through with her. So I get this strip of, it's like a cheesecloth, it comes in a roll. My friend Barb got me this, and I decided it's nice and thin, but it's also super strong. I try tearing it and it will not tear, so that's a good sign. And I decide that I'm going to use this as the main hinge, and I think that's going to be wide enough and leave enough room, and also thin so it won't bulk anything up. It'll slide underneath that piece of paper between the cabinet card and that top part So that's what I decide to use. And oh, looks like I'm actually going ahead and gluing this on right now. So yeah, so I just glue down the side of this top part that's going on the cabinet card, and that's going to hinge or encase that small piece of cheesecloth in between, and that's what's going to hold that front cover onto the folio. So yeah, that's what I obviously decide I'm going to do. So there I am, just attaching that on. Try not to use too much because I want to leave as much as I can so that the folio can grow. I'm not really sure about that envelope that I have tucked in there, and you'll see later that after a lot of umming and ahhing, I decide not to use it. And I don't really want to cover up what's on the back of this cabinet card either. So here I am looking at where is that cheesecloth actually going to insert at the back, and how much room am I going to need. So yeah, there was a lot of fiddling around. The other pieces are basically a very old piece of card that I had, and again, I didn't really want to cover up those pieces of card on the other side, and you'll see later that I don't really do. Oh, there you are. You can see how beautiful and old they look, and I don't really want to cover a lot of that up because I just love that aging on that card. It's real thick card. So again, I've attached digitals to those and then sort of aged them and sanded them to make them look like old book covers. So I'm having a look at how things lie out, and I decide I want to fussy cut out that flower to go, as you can see on the left, but I've printed it out on some inkjet paper, so it looks a lot nicer. It's just a nicer print. So here I am just fussy cutting that out just to replace the one that was just sort of a test print. And there it is there, and it looks way nicer. It's just more vivid and stands out, and I really love how that looks, and that's actually something that doesn't change. So just putting a little bit of ink around that just to hide the white, and then I glue that on to the cabinet card just using my glue stick. On the left there you can see an image with the swans. I'm pretty sure that's a Ruby and Pearl image, and I bought some of these fold up cards with the frames from the op shop, and so I've put that through the embosser with an embossing folder, and then I've actually given it a bit of a stain or paint with some tea, and then I've inserted that that swan image in there, and I love how that looks, and that becomes a page in the folio as well. But I really love how these digitals blend in with the screen on this cabinet card. And again, some of the old things I used, I didn't want to cover them up. I just wanted to enhance them a little bit with some extra images. So yeah, I love how that turned out. I really love it, and I love that rose image so much. So again, here I am with this envelope, and I just couldn't make it work. I love that digital image, that pattern, but for some reason it didn't look great with the kind of rusty colour of the book covers, and so I start thinking, what am I going to put there instead? But I leave it because then I see I've made this sort of folio to go in my folio, which I've made out of very old music cover paper, and then lined with very old music cover paper. I've made one of these before, and I'll link that video below, or it'll pop up on the screen where you can see how I made that, and that was inspired by something I saw on Instagram. And so this is kind of a similar thing, except I've made a sort of more of a curved flap to this folio. hasn't really got a spine to it, and unfortunately the paper being very old, it did crack, so I do some things to try and help that. And here I am with a piece of just old linen trying to work out how is this going to go in here. And that's probably the stuff that took me the longest, because I didn't want to start attaching things and then realizing, oh, I shouldn't have attached that because now this can't go in, and things like that. So my brain doesn't work very well when it comes to this kind of thing. But I was pretty sure that cheesecloth was going to go over that, and that would need covering, so I would need to make something to cover that. But I didn't want to cover all of that board, like I said before. And this board will fold inwards, and so I had to work out what was I going to use to make a hinge for that, and where was it going to go, and what was it going to cover. But you'll see later on that I actually ended up using a doily for that. So here I am thinking, how can I strengthen this because it's cracking, and I decide to use some coffee dyed or tea dyed. Well, it's tea bag, so of course it's tea dyed. Oh, anyway. So I used some tea bag for that, and I thought it's really strong, but actually when I put it on, I glue it on, I let it dry, but even as I bend it again, even the tea bag kind of splits as well. But I don't mind because I like the look of it. So yeah, here I am just gluing that on for some strength. Tea bag is a great material to use for things like this. I mean, it does strengthen things, and it does have that kind of old look to it, so it does look really good. And as you can see, I've used tape on the other side. I don't mind if this folio ends up looking a little bit scruffy and used. It's kind of a look that I like anyway, so it doesn't really matter that the tea bag looks a bit sort of wonky. And you can see I've used a little bit of old sellotape there as well. It's actually old sellotape that I've also put alcohol ink on. So yeah, so that's that, and then I let that dry. Then I go back to this digital that I've already fussy cut that rose out of, and I don't know what I'm thinking here, to be honest with you, because I'm doing this voiceover probably at least a week after I finished and posted this off to Danielle, and I decide I want to use this little bird on the flower. So I'm fussy cutting that out. I don't think I really have a clear idea of where I want to use it. So here I am looking at it on one of the boards and thinking to myself, oh, I don't want to cover up that piece of that mark where the sellotape was, and I don't want to cover up this. So I have a little play with where this flower and this bird could go. It's super cute. And I have a look at the cover and I decide, no, I don't want it on the cover. So I flick that to the side and I start thinking about, okay, let's sort this envelope situation out, because I do know that I want an envelope. When you open that front top cover, I do want an envelope there that opens up to put things in. And I start playing around with this piece of lace that I also would like to use. Even though it's quite a white lace, I still really like the look of it, and I think, oh, maybe I could cover up this envelope and put the bird over the top. And then I'm thinking about what could I put on the inside of the envelope, and I don't really know. I'm probably chatting away to Joe going, what could I put in there? I don't really know. Then I remember I've got this envelope that I've made out of a digital, but it's too big and it's too busy, and I don't really like the look of it. So I go back to this plain envelope, which is, I don't know how old it is, but it's got some lovely sort of marks, natural marks around it. I then start looking at some of my vintage envelopes that I've got and start seeing if any of them will work. I really love this old envelope with all the pencil writing on it, and I seriously think about that one. I end up using that envelope somewhere else in the folio, as you'll see in the flip through. But yeah, I have a little play with that one. I like how that looks with the black outline. And then there's this sort of quite old looking one, but it's actually slightly too wide. And obviously I don't like the colour of the stamps, but I realise I can cover those up or put different stamps on it. But I like the look of that colour with the cabinet card and just the greeny blues. I prefer it to these two that I'm looking at. I then find this one, which is similar to the one I had just before, but it's a lot more tatty, and I'm thinking to myself, is this going to stand up to being open and closed? But I really love it, so I do actually end up using this one. It's one I got from, came with the letters that are from Fraser to Ruth from the 20s, and it's just a random envelope that came with that, but it didn't have one of the letters in it. The letters didn't come with anything, so I actually think, well, I'm going to repair that and use that. So here we are, it's a new day, and I think I had started, or it's later in the day, I can't remember. No, it's actually later in the day, and I come back down and I get back into it and I realise that I haven't turned the camera on, so I just decide, well, I'm going to turn it on and I can just try and edit this video into something that's workable. And I think I have attached that lock and attached the digital to the cabinet card. So that is the front cover pretty much done, and I feel like, wow, that's a real big step forward, because you know, this is taking me just way too long. But I mean, I am enjoying the process. I'm just finding it stretching my brain from a point of view of how is this all going to fit together. So there you can see I've put the envelope on. I decided to use that old tatty one, and I love how that looks. And there's the card that is going to go in there, and there's the folio, which is what you're going to see when you open that front cover. Then I suddenly realised, oh crap, the green folio needs to be joined to this front cover. So I pull up some of that top digital on the cabinet card and decide what I'm going to use to attach that folio there. And and those are some of the things that I realise take me so long, because I thought, oh, I didn't really think that through very well. But yeah, saved the day, so it worked out okay. And yeah, I decided to just use this sort of scrappy piece of linen. I think if I end up not liking that, I will just cover it up with something, hopefully with some lace or something like that. And I think I do end up covering it up with some lace. So yeah, so I'm just gluing this linen into here under the digital there, with some Aleene's, just using Aleene's tacky glue. It's really good glue. Got a bit of wiggle room, but once it's glued down, well, it doesn't budge. So that's good, because that's a hinge. And yay, that's that done. And then I think I go ahead and maybe, do I commit at this stage to putting the folio in? I'm not sure. Probably not, knowing me. Probably need to do a whole lot more faffing than that. And I think, yeah, I end up having it this way round, so it opens like that. And then I'm thinking, oh, I also need to work out how I'm going to what closure I'm going to use. I really can't remember if I glue this on now or whether I do it later, because I start getting nervous about joining things together in case I make the same mistake again. So yeah, here I am playing, fiddling, moving it around, And then I decide, oh, I quite like some lace, and that would also strengthen that fold there as well if I put some lace on there. So I really, really like how this lace looks on here, even though it's covering up the tape that I put there. I don't mind, because you can still see a peek of the brown through as well. So I'm sitting there thinking, and probably talking to my sister, who's probably on a video call with me and crafting away as well. And I just can't tell you how much she helped me with this. Like, as I talked through it and went, oh, well, what do you reckon to this? How will this go? Do you think this will work? She was very, very patient, and then didn't really say that meant too many times. Just glue it down, Kate. Just do it. So yeah, it was really good to have her to run it by. Simply because I hadn't done it before, and I didn't really know what I was doing or how it was going to all turn out. In the end, I am really pleased with how it turned out on the whole. There's a few things I don't absolutely love about it, but I certainly don't hate anything about it, and I'm really, really pleased with how it worked out. I mean, it's a little wobbly, scruffy sort of folio, and it's got lots of lovely things in it, and I'm really hoping that Danielle likes it. By the time this goes up, she will have received it. I've been watching the tracking, and it should be delivered in the next couple of days, so she will have it, and I'll be able to put this video up. So yep, there I am, just cutting that lace. I've glued it on. I've decided that's what's going to happen, and in the end I use that big piece of lace and I cover the back of the folio as well, the green part. And yeah, I end up really liking that. I think it's pretty. I really like that lace. I don't have much left of it, as you can see. And even though it's white, well, it's kind of an off-white. It's not super, super bright white. I still think it looks really nice on that green. So there I'm having a look at it, seeing what I think. And then I'm thinking, what else is going to go on the front here? Oh, this little bird, will he fit on there? But then I don't really like his tail sticking out like that. Oh, could he go here? But again, yeah, that little bird ends up somewhere, but not there. Then for the closure, oh look, I end up having real difficulty with this closure. I want to make a policy one, but I think I made my circles too small, and then I put an eyelet in the middle, and I've decided I need a 3/4 inch punch, because I've got a 1/2 and a 5/8, but I haven't got a 3/4, and I think they just needed to be just a little bit bigger. And I really, really want to use this swan image, and I do end up using it there, but not like that. So here I am making the holes to put the policy closure in, and yeah, this is probably one of the things I'm least pleased with in the project, just because I made those the circles too small, and so the string does wrap around them, but yeah, they just needed to be a little bit bigger. So that was something that I learnt. So yeah, I've got the hole in the middle of the round bit, and then the hole there, and then I put the eyelet through, and then I use my crocodile to squish it. And as you can see, I'm just all fingers and thumbs there trying to get it through. And then I sort of lift it up, and I realised, well, there's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of room there for a string to go under. And I think I kind of think about seeing if I could maybe take it out, but I decide no, I'm not going to go there. I need to just leave it. So yeah, now we're jumping probably to the next day, and I decide I'm going to make a pocket on this back cover, and I'm using some brown paper here, which was part of a big record or vinyl cover that I found on a recent trip. And there's a video of that trip. That's the trip I went on with my friend Barb just recently, and I haven't finished editing that video either. But I love this old brown paper. I often see these old LPs and they're in such beautiful brown covers. And yeah, I want the covers, but I don't want the LPs. So this time I just bought the LPs, and some of them were broken, and I didn't feel bad about throwing them out and keeping the paper. So yeah, I'm making this pocket. I love this image as well, and I kind of just make this sort of scruffy pocket with the brown paper, and that's going to cover some of that back piece of board, but not all of it. So it's a good compromise because I don't, as I said before, I really don't want to cover that up. And so I will be able to tuck some things into here. I'm measuring it up and seeing what I can see from the other side, and yeah, just sizing up this brown paper. Excuse my head in there. My head does appear a little bit in this section, or maybe it's the next section of the video, because I think I have my camera maybe zoomed out a little bit. But anyway, yeah, so I love how this pocket ends up turning out. I don't know how much footage there is of me fiddling around with it, but yeah, I tear it down and I curl it up, and bit of ink, bit of sanding just to get it how I want it. And I end up being really pleased with that aspect of the folio. Just another place to tuck a few things in. Keeping in mind that this is being posted from New Zealand to the UK as well, and so I didn't really want it to be super heavy, because once you get past letter 8 and you're sending what is considered a parcel, it's done all on weight. So I wanted to make it not too heavy to send over. So yeah, here I am tearing down the brown paper so that it's not too bulky, the pocket, but you've still got that sort of sense of layering with it. I forgot to ask how everyone is today. I hope you're all well. I hope you enjoy this process video, and thanks so much for watching. It's hard to do a voiceover. I'm still pretty new at it, but there was no way I could leave the sound on here because I'm nattering away to my sister, and you know, there are a few bloopers and bleeps that would have needed to be inserted if I had left the original audio. So I figured this was the next best way, and I have edited this down hugely because yeah, I decided I'll just turn the camera on and I'll sort out the details of trying to turn it into a watchable video later. So it's not perfect as far as videos go, but I just really wanted to share part of my process of making this folio. So again, here's our wee bird. It looks like I've cut his tail off, and in the end I think I end up reattaching his tail. Poor little guy. Anyway, he doesn't end up here either, I don't think. I don't know where he ends up. I can't even remember, but we'll see in the flip through. It will be a surprise for all of us. So here I am again going, okay, so I've got that pocket there, and I know the pocket can't be attached until that piece of cheesecloth that attaches the front cover to the very back cover, until I'm ready to do that. So that all has to be done. And here I am with the doily, and I do end up using this doily to attach that very back cover to the bit that folds in. And then I think, oh, what am I going to put on here? I think I want something else. So I'm having a little play with just something that's on my desk. And then I think, oh, maybe I'd like an image on here. So I'm opening it out, just getting a kind of an idea in my head of how it's all going to go. And then I decide I want to fussy cut out this sort of bouquet of roses and the tag. So it's a bit of a collage page. So I cut out the tag, the luggage tag, and then this little number here. And I use my hair trimming scissors to get that sort of jagged edge back on it. and then I make a little collage on this back page. So again, I've kept some of the aging of that board. I'm looking at these images here. So this is just something that I've put together. One of those images is from Ruby and Pearl, the rest are Danielle's, and I do end up using that swan image on the very back of the folio. So here I am just putting this collage together. You will see a little bit of my fuzzy grey head come in and out because I think this is where I've got the camera a little bit further zoomed out. So yeah, I'm just arranging it, crinkling things up, aging them with the sanding disc and with some ink. Totally not necessary, but just something that I like to do. And yeah, I end up being really pleased with this little collage. Now this is something that's left over from that music score cover that I used to make the little folio in the folio, and I decide I want to use that, and I do end up making that into a pocket. I just love where it says Boozy & Co, which I think was a company maybe in Australia, maybe Melbourne, that printed sheet music possibly, but I just love how it looks. I don't know why, I just like it. So I fiddle around with this for quite a while, and I do end up making that into a pocket eventually, but I don't think at this stage. So yeah, I'm just having a little fiddle around with it. I do end up using that rusty label plate as well. I'm not sure where. So you can see I've glued that lace down on the back of that folio, that green folio, and it hangs out a little bit. And here I am having a play with that doily that's going to attach those two pieces on the right. And I'm thinking about how much of this cheesecloth do I need? How fat is this folio going to get? But I know that's got to slip underneath that pocket there. And then that's going to go there. And you can see that swan image. I ended up putting it in a sample slide die, and I love how that looks. And there's my swans. And I've glued that down to that cover, and there's a little double pocket there, and there's that envelope that I really wanted to use. And so the only problem with that is when you lifted it up, it tended to tear at the top there. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how that looks when you open it all out. So that's great. I obviously did all of that off camera because I forgot to turn the camera on. But yeah, there is a weak point up there when you open that envelope. And there's our wee bird with his tail reattached. So yeah, he did find a place eventually. I was determined to use my wee bird, so happy about that. So yeah, I'm at this stage, I feel like I'm nearly there. I'm winning, and I just need to just commit to a few more things. The inside of this green folio, I think I'm wondering what am I going to put in here? How am I going to attach it? And I remember that I had the Tim Holtz die and think maybe that would be a cool thing to use in here, and I could put a whole lot of sort of little bits and pieces in. So yeah, that's something I think I want to do. And then I find I've kept the ends of a whole lot of my pianola roll boxes, and this one I just love the colour of it, and I felt like it really fitted in with the whole sort of look of the folio, and I decided I really want to use it, but I'm not really sure where. So here I am having a flick around, and I'm going, where is it? There it is. And I decide I want to use it on this lace, so I'm having a little fiddle around about where I would put it. And then I'm thinking, oh, I'd really like to attach it with some brads or put some brads in it, and then should I make it a pocket or not? And then I'm thinking, oh, I don't want the brads to come through here, so would I have to put something on the inside to cover that up, which I could do. So yeah, so that's what I'm kind of thinking about here. How am I going to attach it? Is it going to be a little tuck spot? I don't want brads to show through. Do I want it in the middle? Do I want it at the bottom? So yeah, even just this decision like this, it just took me ages to decide. I think part of it is because this is for a creator who I really respect and I really love her work. And so I was super, super nervous about making something for her. And that maybe, yeah, I don't know. You guys will understand. I'm sure you'll understand how I was feeling about making something for someone. And I really wanted her to like it. So, yeah, every decision took a little bit longer than even it normally does. And I mean, everything takes me ages anyway. So here I am. I decide I'm going to put the brads in now and then bend them, and then I'm just going to glue this on. So that's what I end up doing. So the brads are there, but they don't go through to the other side. Then I'm back to the pocket and I think, oh, I'd like to just put some brown paper behind here, and here's a crumpled bit that just looks fabulous just like that, so it means I don't have to do anything to it really. I don't want to cover up the writing or the typeset on there obviously, because that's one of the reasons I'm using that piece. So yeah, I just put that brown paper behind that and that becomes a pocket on that inside back page. And I love how that turns out. It looks really cool. And you can see I've got the doily there. It looks like I've attached that at this stage. So yeah, so what happens is obviously I have a break and then I come back and I forget to do the rest of the filming. So here's the flip through of the final folio and all its bits and pieces. So this is a tag that I made using the digitals and on some old board. It's quite bulky and also with that little wax seal hanging on it, so it didn't really fit in the folio. I also made this charm with a swan image on it and it's resined, and I ended up realizing, oh, I need to cover up the spine because the cheesecloth wasn't really that attractive. So I used this beautiful upholstery fabric and I think it blends okay. It's not perfect, but yeah, I was running late as well. I'd missed my deadline, so I really need to get a move on. So here's our wee envelope, and in there I've just placed a couple of little vintage file folder dividers. One has a D on it, and I obviously changed that stamp at the top of the letter to blend a bit more. There's the swans, and in here I have clipped some vintage laces and a piece of fabric, and on the other side I made a selection of papers that's attached just with those sort of brad type things that can be used. I wanted to put in here lots of things that could be used in other projects and that come out, so not that much is permanent. I did cover up, again, see that big gap, that's where the cheesecloth was, and I covered that up with some of my old wedding dress fabric, and unfortunately a little bit of the glue has seeped through. In here I put a few little things, a tag that I made out of one of Danielle's digitals, an old sort of vintage number and things like that. Things I think that she would like to use in her projects. It's a very old Christmas card. There's our wee bird, he's so cute. So yeah, that turned out really cool, and it's got some little bits and pieces in it. I kept wanting to add things, but there's only so much you can do. So then it opens out some more, and I ended up putting the Tim Holtz slotted die on my pocket that I made. And when these things come out, there's just some various things. Most of these things are vintage items. And that photograph is a picture of Marine Parade, which is in Napier, which is in Hawke's Bay, which is where I live. So I thought that was cool. And then I decided I wanted to clip those together with a rusty paper clip. And so I just put that number there, that vintage auctioneer's lot number, just there to protect the things underneath. Yeah, so there's a little bundle of goodness, and then when you take that out you can still see the old board that I created the folio out of, and I'm really pleased with that. And then in the slotted die there's things like some tickets. Oh, I'm having trouble putting that in. Oh, I probably should have edited all of this out, but I haven't, so I'm just going to leave it. I have spent a lot of time editing this video down, so it's just going to, you're just going to have to see me fiddling around. So yeah, there's a cabinet card that's a copy of one I have, and another tag that I created. A very old postcard, another old postcard, and yeah, so there's that pocket, and it's got a lovely wax seal, faux wax seal, and yeah, the tags that I made. So there's a bit of old ephemera, mostly old ephemera, and then a few things that I created myself. And so then that closes, and there's the back. So there's nothing on the back, just that picture. And yeah, that is the folio. I really hope she likes it. I really enjoyed making it, and now I've made one. I think I might make another one. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I really hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. I would so appreciate that. It helps YouTube put this video out to other people who might be interested. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I really appreciate that. And I will see you again really soon in the next video. Bye.